I should have known better. I should have realized the kind of person I was dealing with. I should have read the fine print. Now, it seems like I have all the time in the world to deal with the consequences. Like many others, I had spent years dreaming of becoming a beautiful woman. It seemed impossible in real life, so I let my imagination run wild. Not just any woman, but a stunning one, with everything perfect from my body to my chromosomes. But I dreamed even bigger. What if I could go back to being a little girl, and do it all again, the right way? When a mysterious email arrived, claiming to know my deepest desires, I was skeptical at first, hoping it was just a cruel joke. I deleted the first few messages, but when more arrived, I created new email accounts to protect myself. However, I soon found messages from the sender on all my new accounts. "Please don't be afraid, Tim," one message read. "I want nothing from you, except to help you make your dreams come true. Please respond, I promise you won't regret it." After a restless night, I finally decided to reply, agreeing to meet her, though I still had doubts. She responded quickly and eagerly. "Wonderful, Tim. You don't know how happy this makes me," she said. We arranged to meet at a restaurant in another part of town. As I drove there, my heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear. Could this person truly help me become the woman I longed to be? And why had she chosen me? When I entered the restaurant, I made my way to the dimly lit lounge. A soft voice called out, "Over here, Tim." I turned to see a beautiful woman, casually dressed in black jeans and a sweater, her appearance effortlessly stunning. Everything about her seemed perfect, her figure, her hair, her face. But despite her beauty, something felt off. There was a coldness to her perfection, something that should have made me cautious. I approached the booth and sat down. "Hello," I said, feeling nervous. I seem to be at a disadvantage. "You know everything about me, but I don't even know your name." She smiled knowingly. "I'm Evelyn, Tim, and I'm going to help make your dreams come true." Before I could respond, she added, "You're thirsty, aren't you?" and called the bartender over to get me a drink. After ordering a club soda to stay clear-headed, I tried to take control of the situation. "Evelyn, or whoever you are, I came here to tell you to stop. I don't want to become a girl. These claims about me." She took a final drag of her cigarette and stubbed it out. "Oh, Tim," she said with a sigh, "I know you're pretending. It's one of the things you struggle with most, isn't it? That's why I'm here to offer you something special." I let out a heavy sigh, my shoulders slumping in resignation. "All right, you've got me," I said softly. She smiled and shook her head. "Tim, please. What will it take for you to understand that all I want is to help you achieve your dreams?" "Okay," I replied quietly. "What's going on here?" She smiled faintly. "Tim, I know you believe that magic could be real. Well, it is. I'm living proof." She paused. I took a sip of my drink and asked, "And how is that?" "I'm 87 years old," she said. I nearly spilled my drink, and she repeated, "You heard me. I've spent my life mastering this craft. It's not as simple as it seems. Imagine the chaos if everyone could learn this." I shuddered at the thought but said nothing. "It's been a couple of years now since I assumed this form," she continued. I asked myself, what else did I want in life? Did I want another lover? No. I already found the love of my life, and we had more than 50 years together. Did I want fame or fortune? Not really, though the idea was oddly appealing. Then I realized something. The void in my life was not having a daughter. I wanted to create one of my own, using a willing subject, of course. I hesitated. How, and why me? I didn't know where to start. Then I found a TG website and saw how many there were. Some men were exploring fantasies, while others were expressing deep desires. I nodded. I was one of those who had poured my heart into my stories. So, I found yours, and something about the depth and honesty of your desire to be female resonated with me. Then I did some research. When I found out your parents were gone, you were an only child, and stuck in a dead-end job, I knew you were the one. I felt my face flush and a lump form in my throat. Could it really be true? I wanted to speak, but couldn't find the words. Tears started to well up, despite my effort to hold them back. Tim, she said gently, her hand resting on my arm. Yes, it's true. You deserve this. You've earned it. Okay, I finally whispered. What do I do? Evelyn reached for a leather portfolio beside her and opened it, revealing a contract. She handed me a gold pen. Take a look at this. I thought it would protect both of us. The idea of signing a contract with someone like her seemed absurd. If she broke it, who could enforce it? Still, I scanned it, and after a pause, I took the pen and signed my name. Are you sure you're ready to sign, Tim? Evelyn asked. You know what they say about contracts, always read the fine print. I smiled and nodded. If you can make my wish come true, I don't have to worry. The contract stated that she would transform me into a beautiful young girl, age 6, provide for me until I turned 18, and that I would be her loving daughter. I handed the contract back to her, thinking she might not be the warmest person, and having her as a mother might be odd. But when you're going to be 5 again, your whole future is ahead of you in a way you can't grasp the first time around. I'd grow up how I always wanted to, and once I was an adult, I could live my life however I chose. Now what? I asked. Whenever you're ready, we'll head to my home, and I'll complete your transformation. I processed this and said, how about now? She seemed taken aback. Don't you want to visit your apartment first, or tie up loose ends? No, I replied. You're right. There's nothing holding me to this life. The sooner I start my new life, the better. We left in her Lexus, making small talk on the way. Part of me wondered if this was some kind of prank or dream, or if I'd wake up somewhere dangerous. But the part of me that wanted this to be real kept me going. We soon reached a wealthy neighborhood with large, old homes. We entered a garage beneath a sprawling mansion that looked like it dated back to around 1910. Inside, the furniture was old but pristine. My parents built this house, Evelyn said. I've lived here all my life, and I hope you'll love it as much as I do. Where's my room? I asked. She led me upstairs to 2 large bedrooms at opposite ends of the hall. One was hers, the other, mine. I stepped through the door into a child's dream. The furniture here, though old, felt different, fresh, airy, and bright. A beautiful canopy bed sat at the center of the room, its wood painted white. The walls were adorned with a delicate floral pattern on a soft pink backdrop. Large shelves were filled with dolls, tea sets, and other toys, and the closet overflowed with lovely dresses. The dresser drawers were filled with satin, lace, and ruffles. It was so beautiful, I felt overwhelmed. I turned to Evelyn, smiling. This is where I'll live, Evelyn. Mommy? Yes, sweetie, she said kindly. Once we get you changed. She led me to the basement, where she directed me to undress and stand in the middle of a pentagram painted on the floor. In front of it stood an altar covered with candles, incense, old books, keys, a crystal ball, and various other objects. The stone walls were damp, and the flickering candles provided the only light. I felt a shiver, not from the cold, but from nervous excitement. Evelyn instructed me to stay still and silent. She lit the incense, opened one of the books, and began chanting softly in a language I didn't understand. Soon, warmth spread through my body, a tingling sensation that made it feel like my bones, skin, and organs were melting. I shrank rapidly, my height diminishing from over 6 feet to less than half that. My skin became soft and almost hairless, with golden blonde curls cascading down my back. My brown eyes transformed into sparkling blue ones, and my nose turned slightly upturned. Below, everything had changed. I was now fully female. A sweet, childlike voice escaped my lips. "Am I done, Mommy?" "Yes, dear," she replied. "Come give Mommy a hug." I was amazed at how different the world looked from my new, shorter perspective, but the feeling of boundless energy overwhelmed me. I ran to her and hugged her tightly. "Thank you, Mommy. I promise I'll be the best little girl." She patted my back. "Oh, I'm sure you will be, dear," she said, with a hint of certainty I didn't quite understand. "What's my name now, Mommy? I can't be Tim anymore." I giggled, a sweet, musical sound, filled with joy. "Let's call you Christina, or Tina," she suggested. "Sounds perfect. What's next?" "Now, young lady, it's time for bed. Do you realize it's past 10 o'clock? In my house, a 6-year-old goes to bed by 9 p.m. Her tone was stern, but her smile told me she was joking. "Right away, Mommy," I said excitedly, dashing up the stairs. I picked out a fancy pink nightie, complete with ribbons and lace, and snuggled into the soft bed. A moment later, Evelyn stood in the doorway, smiling. "All set, dear?" "Yes, Mommy." She kissed me on the forehead and tucked me in. "Good night, darling. Sleep tight and don't let the bedbugs bite." I felt tears fill my eyes. Those were the exact words my real mother used to say to me before bed. I reached up to turn off the nightlight and settled back, my exhaustion finally winning over my excitement. I fell into a deep sleep. The next morning, I woke up and immediately realized this was no dream. I was still a beautiful 6-year-old girl. And I had to pee. I hurried to the bathroom, managed to get myself comfortable, and took care of things. I remembered that Evelyn had told me to shower, get dressed, and then come downstairs for breakfast. I chose a white dress with a lace collar and colorful floral patterns, paired with white tights and Mary Janes. I skipped down the stairs, excited. "Good morning, Mommy." I greeted her cheerfully. "Good morning, darling," she replied, placing a steaming bowl of oatmeal in front of me. "Did you sleep well? Still happy about your decision?" After some conversation, Evelyn shifted the topic. "Well, Tina, I'm glad it's Saturday. We have time to start working on your new responsibilities." "What do you mean, Mommy? Like chores?" "Well, yes, honey, that's part of it. But I also want to help you develop all your talents and potential. That will require hard work on your part. I could use magic, but I think it's more important that you put in the effort. It will mean more in the end." I nodded, still not fully understanding. "What kind of lessons, Mommy?" "Oh, let's start with singing, dancing, and piano. Later, I'll get you started on a foreign language, and maybe more than one instrument." It sounded like a lot, but Evelyn was in charge, so I figured I'd go along with it. After all, I never had any particular gifts as a male, and it felt nice to think about developing new ones in this second chance. My transformation happened in late August, giving me a few days to adjust to my new age and gender before school started. It was hard to believe I was going to be a first grader again. Somehow, Evelyn's magic had subtly altered my mind. While I still remembered everything from my past life, my education, my brief, unsatisfying relationships, and what adulthood had been like, she had also instilled in me a childlike innocence and wonder. This new perspective helped me embrace my girlhood. Soon, I found myself completely immersed in play, spending hours with my dolls and dollhouses. When school started, I surprisingly found myself paying attention in class, no longer bored by its simplicity. Sure, I missed the independence and privileges of adulthood, but being able to experience life as a little girl again seemed like a fair trade. I loved getting ready for school each day, choosing which dress to wear. I quickly made friends with the other girls in my class, and, when I thought about my orientation as a female, I found myself agreeing with my classmates, boys are yucky. What I didn't enjoy as much were the lessons. My new friends, like Shannon, Lucy, and Heather, wanted to hang out or play after school, but I rarely had the chance. It seemed like I had a lesson every day after school. I did my best and discovered I had a natural aptitude for many of these activities. I felt graceful and girlish in my pink tights and tutu. But my new mother had chosen demanding teachers for me. More than once, I came home exhausted and on the verge of tears, wanting nothing more than to curl up and watch TV. But that wasn't allowed. Evelyn insisted I practice on my own after school. One day, when I finally complained about the pressure she put me under, she became furious. "Young lady," she scolded. "Think about who's paying for these lessons, who's dressing you, feeding you, and providing for you. And remember who gave you the body of your dreams. Without me, you'd still be a lonely, miserable man stuck in a dead-end job." She sent me to bed without dinner and told me to think about it. Through my tears, I muttered, "I'm sorry, Mommy," before heading upstairs. The next day, Evelyn had a surprise for me after school. I thought we were going to my piano lesson, but she told me it was cancelled. Instead, she took me home and announced it was time to learn the purpose behind all the lessons. She led me to my bedroom, where half a dozen beautiful gowns, full of silk, lace, and sequins, were spread out on my bed. "What's this about, Mommy?" I asked. With a bright smile, she answered, "I'm entering you in the Little Miss Riverside pageant next month. I think you're ready." A pageant for 6-year-olds? I had heard about such things after the JonBenet Ramsey tragedy, but I had never imagined being part of one so young. I had dreamed of being prom queen in high school, but this felt too early. It turned out that Mommy's idea of the perfect daughter included having a beauty queen. While I did enjoy certain aspects, dressing in elegant gowns, getting my hair and makeup done, and performing in front of an audience, there was a darker side to it all. Some of the girls seemed to have fun, but others clearly didn't. Many looked like they would rather just be kids. It was especially hard for those with overly competitive stage parents. And I soon realized my mommy was one of them. After my first pageant, I came home with the biggest trophy, and Mommy couldn't have been more pleased. She bought me hundreds of dollars worth of Barbie gear and took me out for dinner, which I really enjoyed. But the next pageant was different. I finished second. On the way home, I tried to stay upbeat. "Well, Mommy, I guess I can't win them all." I did my best. She was unusually quiet, puffing intensely on her cigarette. Finally, she spoke. "I suppose not, dear. Just don't make losing a habit." Her words sent a chill through me. For the first time since my adult life, when I had been under pressure in a demanding job, I felt that familiar knot in my stomach. The tension only grew as the years passed. The competitions became more intense, and other parents became jealous of my success. But no matter how many trophies and tiaras I collected, nothing seemed good enough for Mommy. Meanwhile, I moved from first grade to second, and then third. Summers were a welcome break from the pageant grind, and I grew to cherish the freedom they offered, even though the drive for success in the pageants never let up. My relationship with Mommy remained strange and unpredictable. When I did well in pageants, she showered me with gifts, affection, and attention. When I didn't, she became cold, distant, and detached. One summer day, between 4th and 5th grade, I found myself feeling bored and decided to explore the house. While Mommy had strictly forbidden me from entering the basement where her witchcraft supplies were kept, she had never mentioned anything about the attic. As I rummaged through dusty old boxes, unsure of what I was looking for, I eventually found it. What I was really seeking was some clue, some hint about the motivations and behavior of this mysterious woman who had rescued me from adulthood. I often thought about growing up. Would I go to college again? What kind of career might I have? How soon would I marry? How many children would I have? All the things young girls dream about. The only difference was, I had already experienced it all, just not from this side of the fence. I also wondered what kind of relationship I might have with Mommy as an adult. Would we remain close? What would my future husband and children think of her? Then I discovered an old photo album. As I flipped through the pages, looking at the black and white photos, I realized that Mommy was nearly a century old. Though magic had given her back her youth, she had lived in an era that felt almost like ancient history to me. I studied the album and realized that I had never seen what Mommy looked like as a young girl or woman. Had she just restored her youth, or had she created an idealized version of herself? It soon became clear she had done the latter. The young woman in the photographs, identified as my Mommy, was, to put it gently, unattractive. She had been born with a cleft palate and crossed eyes, and though surgery had corrected those issues, she was still far from beautiful. Having experienced the cruelty of children toward those who are different, I could only imagine the pain her childhood must have been. No wonder she wanted to live the life of a beautiful young girl through me. I felt a deeper connection to her than ever before. But if only I had understood the full extent of her needs. I didn't bring up my discovery to her. I knew it would only reopen old wounds, ones that hadn't healed. But later that summer, I asked her about my growth. When I had been turned into a 6-year-old, I was about 3 feet, 10 inches tall and weighed 42 pounds, average for a girl my age. For years later, I had only grown 3 inches and gained 10 pounds. I was one of the smallest girls in my class, if not the smallest. One morning, during breakfast, I innocently asked, "Why don't I seem to be growing, Mommy? Some of the girls my age are starting to get their periods and grow chests." She stared off into space for a long moment before replying, "Well, dear, you won't have to worry about that at the new school you're going to in the fall." New school? I asked, confused. 5th grade was still a year away from junior high, and she had always said she never wanted to leave this house. "Mommy, I don't understand." She looked at me, as if sizing me up. I think I'll make you a green-eyed redhead this time. Not many redheads in the pageant world. That might help you stand out." By now, I was on the edge of tears. "Mommy, what are you talking about?" She smiled, a smile that sent a chill through me. "You're not going into 5th grade this fall. You're going back to 1st grade. I'm going to turn you into a 6-year-old again." "But why?" I asked, heart pounding. I realized how much I love having a little girl. I didn't want to deal with a rebellious teenager, puberty, dating, all the problems that come with growing up. "No, I think I'll keep you as my little girl forever." But what about the contract? Doesn't it promise I'll be free when I turn 18? "Yes, dear, it does. But nowhere does it say you'll ever reach the age of 18. I felt my tears begin to fall as the reality of my endless nightmare sank in. For a split second, I thought I saw a flicker of genuine sympathy in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by that all-too-familiar smile. "Come on, honey," she said, her voice sweet but cold. "Don't you remember the night you changed? It's like any contract. I told you to read the fine print.